T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Good.
You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man,
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes.
exclusive. Oh,
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, gotta love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up.
you are now tapped into the coolest reptile podcast in the world. I'm your boy, MJ. What is good? If this is your first time tapping in, do your boy a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. That way you're on top of every single podcast I drop here on Thursdays, Saturdays, Sundays, and Mondays, man. But what is good? Tonight we got my boy, the legendary Brian Barczyk in the building.
What's going on, man?
What's up, buddy?
Not much, man. Just excited to hang out.
Thanks for being here. It means a lot.
Oh, dude, anything for you, man. I I love you, brother.
You got a lot going on, as always. It's something I feel like I was talking earlier about. I feel like every time I was visiting, because I've been to the Reptarium, I think like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And each time I visit you, I don't want to say you have a bit of like weight on your shoulders, but that's what it is. You do. You have something that you're always working on that's looking to elevate everything that you do. So, but before we get into all that, how's everything going, man? You doing good? How's everything with the family? How's Lori? I'm just curious how Noah's doing. How's everyone doing?
Thanks for asking. And everyone's doing good. As a matter of fact, Lori came back tonight. For those of you guys that don't know, I know you know this, that
Right.
we had our first grandkid, Nathan James, back in December. So Lori came back tonight, and it's the first time she's now back permanently here. So she's been spending 5 days a week or so with my daughter in Grand Rapids, which is about 2 hours away. So literally for 5 days a week, it's been me and Noah alone in the house. You can imagine what a disaster it's become. Because
A lot of pizza nights.
Yeah. Actually, we eat super clean. Ironically enough,
good.
Noah's inspired me to like get into super shape. So it's like he's been crushing the gym. So Noah's doing great. He's really he's crushing the edit game for us, obviously. Which is amazing, the work that he's doing. And like I said, it's nice to have Lori back full time, not only just from our household type of thing, being as a family, but also she runs the business basically. So you can imagine having your CEO basically gone all but a day and a half a week for the last 5 months. So it's been a wild 5.5 months. But like I said, as of today, she's back full time. So we're really excited to have her back for sure.
We're talking CEO of the business and the household. That's like,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? Like two
yeah.
huge things. But anyway, shout out to Lori, and then also shout out to you. Congratulations on being grandparents. I know this is a whole new chapter.
That's
I'm
crazy.
assuming
It's wild,
crazy,
man.
crazy to think.
I don't feel old enough to be a grandpa, but we started young, obviously. So we had Jade when Lori was 19 and I was 20. So it, it's we're at least young enough grandparents to enjoy it and not feel like we're crippled around or something like that. So but it's really cool. It is really cool, and I can't wait. Nathan has been to the Reptarium once when he was younger, much younger.
Right.
So now that he's 7 months old or whatever, I can't wait till he can come back and actually like see some of the reactions to the reptiles, and it's just continuing to pass on to the next generation. So it's cool. And speaking of Noah earlier, I mean, Noah hadn't shown a tremendous amount of interest for reptiles most of his life, but the last like 2 years he's really been into it, and really a big part of the business and continuing to expand. I mean, he's in there taking ownership, so it really helps to have that family unit, not just our family unit, but right now we have a pretty astonishing crew. I mean, like as a matter of fact, we just added a couple people to our crew just within the last few weeks, and I know it's a struggle for so many people out there, especially reptile type of whether it's breeding facilities or whatever it might be, to find people. And we have just really hit a home run with almost every single person. Really, I can't think of one person in our crew right now that I don't think is an absolute rock star. So we're really in good shape right now, which is awesome.
Here's like things about you I can't just wrap my head around, because I think I don't know if I told you this, but I finally had a day where it wasn't just about taking care of the animals. Like I had to build shit. You know what I mean? Like I had all these things to build. So I spent about 2 days building stuff, not attending to my day-to-day stuff that I normally do with the animals, which fucked my whole schedule up. It just, it really messes you up. Right. But here I am talking about these things, and then we talk about like stuff that you're tackling, you know what I mean? And I feel like one of the hardest things, Brian, and I'm as much as I want to grow in this, I'm dreading this day where I have to hire employees, because a lot of your shit, it determines on their attitude, on how they feel. And that's a lot of commitment to give over to somebody. And I mean, to delegate how things are ran at the Reptarium when you're there and when you're not there, that can't be easy, bro. That has to be hard. Like that has to be really hard.
Yeah. I mean, it is hard, but I think that, over the last 10 years or, really probably 12 years, I've really looked at business in a really different light, so going back to, BHB's been around since 1989. And that was my primary, really my sole income for the majority of my life. Right. BHB Reptiles Breeding Company. And, so it was, and at that point I was a huge micromanager. Lori is now learning to not micromanage after years and years and years of me trying to get her to delegate. And so anyways, over the last 10 or 12 years, I've really kind of learned, after crashing and burning, what happened was in the Great Recession of 2008, 2009, I almost lost everything. I mean, literally, I lost hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, walked away from a lot of my investments, and I hit rock bottom. I mean, there was a period of time for maybe 6 months or so where I didn't know if I was going to have anything left. Like, I didn't know if the animals were all going to have to get sold. I didn't know if I'd have a house. I didn't know. I mean, that's how severe it was. And so anyways, it really taught me that I had to look at business and life a lot differently. First off, I wanted to, start to, diversify and get multiple income streams. Secondly, I realized pretty quickly that although I had employees during all those years, I mean, going back probably to late 90s, let's say, so probably, 25 years I've had employees. But, I was still didn't delegate the way I should have delegated. So what we do now is we work really hard to find the right people. And a lot of my crew, there's a few people that are new that you haven't met yet, that are rock stars. But we put people in positions that we think that they can excel, number one, and number two, take ownership of, right? So we want people to feel like, hey, when you're producing those ball python eggs, you were part of that, producing those ball python eggs. So maybe I'm getting the glory by pulling the clutch on the video or whatever the case may be. But, whoever's taking care of those ball pythons during the breeding season, I'm not only letting them take care, but I'm trying to teach them. In this case, Maria, right, this last year, and she's fantastic. And I'm teaching her how to switch males. what to look for in females, like what signs you're looking for, pre-ovulation, ovulation, sheds, all these other types of things. So by the time you get into egg season, she's completely taken ownership of that whole collection, right? To where it's like when the clutch of eggs comes, she's not just getting an hourly rate. She's also saying like, oh my God, I actually produce these eggs with Brian, and we break every single aspect of our entire, not just our breeding company, but all of our companies in that way, so that like our success is part of their success, right? And I think that the other thing that I do, Laura isn't quite as good at this as I am, but I believe in building up people, not tearing them down, right? So I'm a big, my management style with people is to be, number one, friendly, super, supportive, attaboy when they do great things, you're doing a great job today, keep it up, without you, I don't know what and I'm not just lip servicing it. I mean, it's true. I mean, my education staff, for instance, is, I used to do every single educational show for the first 2.5 years we were open at the Reptarium. And that would sometimes mean that 20, 25 events a week on top of all my work I was doing, zoo to use, birthday parties, tours, events, whatever the case may be. Now I only do 1 or 2 a week. I usually limit it to 2 a week maximum, sometimes only 1 a week. And my educational staff does all the rest, So the point is that, I'm putting people in place to excel, to they want to be there, they want to do things, and I think that's the way you kind of run things. And I've been very fortunate. And listen, sometimes you have to make tough decisions and get rid of somebody that might seem to have some positives, but also has some other negatives that maybe people outside of our group don't understand. And it's hard because, we all become family. We all become friends. We all, I care tremendously for all my people, even people that I've had to let go. I still care for them. I just know what's best for my company. And so we've been, I talk to so many people that are like, oh my God, the worst part of my life is my employees. I'm the opposite. I think one of the best parts of my business are my employees, because they are so good and they allow me to have so many multifaceted things happening in life, right? Like there's no way I could take on, 8 different businesses that I run, new initiatives that are coming on like Animal Con USA, all these other things, some other really big news that we talked about before the show, but we can't talk about right quite yet until some things are finalized. So I couldn't do any of that if it wasn't for them, right? I mean, I'll tell you this much. The last 3 weeks of my life, I've been in meetings more than I've been around animals, which is not what I love. I don't like meetings. I don't like to be on, conference calls and Zoom meetings and all this stuff about all kinds of crazy stuff. But I know it's a short window of time that I'm going to have to, wrap this up over the next little bit. And then I can get back to animals full time, but without my crew, I couldn't do all these things, and I couldn't continue to expand. And I think of it like, again, trust me, I'm not saying I'm Elon Musk by any stretch. What I'm saying is that you think about Elon, he's not building rockets, he's not, building Teslas, he's putting people in place. And one, listen, there's a number of people that are my heroes that I look up to. I've never met any of them, but I look up to Walt Disney. I look up to Elon Musk. I look up to Steve Jobs. These are the people I look to for inspiration about how they, they did things in life. And they were all huge delegators, right? And they're not only huge delegators, but they also are people that don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. They want smarter people than them surrounding them. And which
helps them.
Exactly. I'll give you an example. Like, I know crap about geckos compared to Jessica, right? Like Jessica knows a million times more than I do about geckos. So would it be smart would I be smart to try to do geckos, or would I be smart to let Jessica do geckos because she knows so much about them? Of course it's to let Jessica do geckos. And then when people come on that maybe don't have as much of a, education and say whatever they're doing for me, we try to teach them and let them excel. And listen, I always tell people, this is the one thing I want from my employees. I want them to want to come to work on their day off. That's what I want. And if they don't want to be there, then I don't want them there, period.
Right.
And I'm not saying I won't let them come in on their day off, although some do. I'll be honest with you, like Jake, one of my new educators that's been, he's been with me for about 4 months now. I mean, he's there 7 days a week this week. I mean, he didn't take his day off because he wanted to come in and just help out. That's the type of dedication that you need around you. And if you don't have it, you can't, as a leadership comes from the top, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. And if you accept lower than what you expect, you're never going to get the return. So yes, it's scary to take on employees. Yes, it's scary to delegate things that you're so passionate about. But if you do it properly, that's when you can truly blossom and make your business into an empire.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to point out any kind of like weaknesses or anything like that, because I don't see a lot of weaknesses from you, Brian. The only thing I feel like that you do a lot is believe in people. I feel like you really give people the benefit of the doubt, and I feel like you've always done that prior to. I mean, I don't know. I've heard stories, fucked up stories of ways you've gotten taken advantage of, and then even stuff happening in your own house where you unfortunately can't trust people. That must hurt. It must suck. To have to go through that. You're almost your whole career you've been doing shit like that. So like me, I'm the opposite, Brian. I don't trust people right off the bat. Like I kind of like, and that's not, I try to look at what you do and try to like believe more, but I've been fucked over also, and I hate it. It's something that I don't get over so easily. So I don't know how you deal and delegate with that so well and still continue to have people around you.
It is tough. I think that you're right. I've absolutely gotten taken advantage of more times than I want to tell you, more time than anyone want to know. As a matter of fact, I think this is a pretty sad story I will share. I'm not going to share specifics, but I'm just saying that, a couple years back, before I stopped fronting people animals, because back in the day, it was very regular. You would ship a $40,000 shipment to the UK and they would pay you afterwards, right? So you had a lot of that going on. But over about a 10-year period, I lost almost $700,000 to people screwing me over, just not paying me. And in some cases, they would literally say, I'm not paying you, go F yourself. Right. And I mean, there was like, what was I going to do? I literally was screwed. But yet I would continue to do it over and over again. So in a way, that is, the definition of insanity, right? But at the same time, I chose and continue to choose to not let the past dictate what I think of the future, right? As far as like, I'm not going to, instead of knowing that I've been around a lot of bad actors that have taken big time advantage of my kindness and my trust, I still am not going to approach the next person and think they're going to screw me. I'm actually going to do the opposite. And I know most people can't do that. Lori, thankfully, is kind of more like you. She's cynical from the start. She's almost like, you got to prove your wealth to me. I'm not going to give it to you in advance. And that's a good yin and yang with us too. She keeps me in check. The other thing I've done now in business, I'd say not so much employee wise, but in business, is that I've surrounded myself with people that are smarter than me and protect me. Right. Whether that's, tax planners, whether that's attorneys, whether that's whatever it is. So now when I do things, rather than myself, going like, hey, I'm going to do this deal because I trust this guy, because this guy seems like a really good guy. I have people behind me that are literally fact checking everything and saying, no, this isn't a good deal. You're going to get screwed. We've got to protect you here. We've got to protect you. And that, so that's the way I've done it. So I've continued to maintain this kind of innocence towards, just trusting people, even though I've been screwed as much as not more than anybody, by very close friends and acquaintances and even workers. But at the same time, I'll still give the next person the same leverage as they did the last person, and I'll never change it, because I don't want to be a cynical person personally. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Like I said, I know you said you're more like that. Lori is certainly like that. There's nothing wrong with having those cynical things. Just for me, I choose to live my life a different way, and I trust people until they screw me over. And oftentimes they have to screw me over a couple times before I really, learn my lesson. But that's just, I don't know. It's probably a character flaw, really, that I'm that way, right?
I mean, we'll get more into it, and you'll see how I'm going to connect these dots here in just a second. Yeah. But I mean, with that being said, I will say, from what I know personally, I much rather be proven wrong in a sense where like, oh, you proved me wrong because I doubted you, where like I believed in you and you fucked me over. You know what I mean? But here's the thing. This is where I believe in karma too. Like I believe in doing good deeds, having this kind of heart comes back to you. And what I mean by that, Brian, you gotta understand, when you basically had everyone almost investing to want to hate you at some point, you still, because how many people knew who you really were and how basically you kept putting out content, and people you basically gave no proof to any of these acquisitions back in the day that you arose from all of it. And now basically it's like, all these people that were trying to burn you down want to come up now and hopefully shake your hand someday and kiss your ass, and which that's bound to happen. So I mean, yeah.
It's, listen, I tell people this all the time. That was probably what I consider the worst time of my life. The 2 or 2.5 years of unbelievable, really unwarranted hate. Did I deserve some of it? Sure, of course. I mean, I take some of the
You weren't
blame.
perfect, right?
Yeah, no, I'm by far. I made mistakes. The mistakes were on video. Back in the it's like I've told people. I liken it to a comedian in a sense, right? You know how like Joe Rogan said some things about gay people 10 years ago, and it was fine. Everyone laughed about it, thought it was funny. Everything's 10 years later, cancel culture finds those clips, and Joe Rogan gets canceled. He ended up not getting canceled, but they tried to cancel him because of what he said 10 years ago. That was very much like what happened with Snake Bites days. It was like when it was going on, the people loved it. Get Chewy bit more. That's so funny. I mean, don't get me wrong. There was a small fraction of people that didn't like it, but the vast majority of people liked it. And then you fast forward 5, 6, 7 years, and all of a sudden people are going back to things I did 8 years ago and saying, what a terrible guy Brian is, right? So I was getting canceled. And I learned from that. And like I said, I think that was definitely the hardest time of my life professionally, if nothing else, and emotionally to some extent too, to wake up every morning and know that there's a Facebook group that has your name on it for hatred, and it's popping. It's not just there, it's actually popping. Like people are loving it, and it's getting a lot of support. And then there's all these people. That's difficult, right? But right. I think that two things that come out of it is, one, the fact that you become mentally stronger. And what I mean by that is that you stop letting anything bother you. Like, I can get a hate comment now, or I can get whatever, which doesn't happen often these days, but it still happens from time to time. Right. It's always going to be there with success.
It is.
And it doesn't bother me. Like, it doesn't even, like, I don't, there's an old saying, right? Don't let people rent space in your head for free. I don't let people
rent. That is not cheap.
Yeah. I don't let people rent space in my head ever. I don't care. If someone now listen, if a friend of mine said bad things about me, it would hurt my feelings. But 100%. Some guy or girl that I've never met saying something negative about me, that's never met me, never been to my place, never been, I don't care what they think about me. I really don't. And it doesn't affect me now.
Brian, I want to stop you because I don't want to say I'm anywhere in your position that you were in 2017, wherever this bullshit was happening. But here's my thing, Brian. I'm in a position where I'm seeing people who deliberately tell me they support me, and then they really don't. And you know how you got to that point where you're seeing this shit too? You're just like, wow, like that's unfortunate. But I'm trying not to let it get to me. And I'm just curious, was it just experience and just multiple people doing this to you that made you stronger, or what can I do to get better at dealing with it? Because I still want to fuck people up, and I don't want to be, and I don't want to be like that. I want to move forward, but I just still can't.
Well, I think there's two things that come out of it. One is the fact that you do mentally just get to a point when listen, if you want to be in the public eye on any level, right? I mean, whether it's podcasts, YouTube, television, movies, rock star, DJ, whatever the case may be, you're going to definitely catch hate, period. Right. And let me tell you, let me explain something that I think happens through the course of success. I think number one, to get successful, you almost always have to go through a hate period. Now, how much hate that is hard. Depends on the individual. I went through an extreme period of hate. Some people may not go through that extreme. So I think there's 3 steps to success, like for most people. And this is very broad, but I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen. And it depends. Like if you're a social influencer with millions of followers, obviously it's going to be different than, say, if you have a business that becomes successful, your hate group is going to be much smaller and it's not going to be as public, right?
Right.
But so there's 3 steps, and this may help you. So the first step is people look at you and go, holy shit, MJ is doing 4 or 5 podcasts a week. He's traveling all over the country. He's kicking ass. That guy is crazy how much he's grinding right now to do. That's step 1, right? Then step 2, you start to get a little bit of success, some traction, something like that. Step 2, people start hating you out of jealousy and out of admiration, right? They start going like, MJ, the people that were like, wow, MJ's grinding, all of a sudden be like, yeah, that MJ's, he's an asshole, man. I saw what he did over here. He saw what he did over here. And then when you push through that level, you get to level 3. And that's where I hope I'm at or getting to, and that's admiration. So
Right.
now what happens is that the people that were like, you're crazy, then they hate you, then they started admiring you for two reasons. They admire you because you pushed through the hate period. Number one, you rose above it. Hopefully you learned, changed, adapted, evolved, whatever you want to call it. And then number two, they start going like, me hating him isn't going to stop this guy's success. He's going to continue on. So I might as well say, I want to be like him because, you're a beacon and you stay positive. So that's the one thing. The other thing is like, I'll give an example. Like I love Kevin McCurley and I love Chandler, right? I think they're both great people. I personally, they're friends of mine. I love them to death. I think the beef between them is ridiculous. I'm not going to get deep into it. But my point is I think Chandler screwed up. And this is the advice I had to you a little bit, is that, and I'm not talking about the bite or anything like that. What I'm talking about is that when Kevin and Donnie first attacked Chandler said, I'm not going to give them my cred. I'm not going to let them steal my cred. I'm going to just let them say whatever they want to say, and I'm not responding. But they got to him, and he responded, and they goaded him into responding, and that made the story bigger, right? And that was that it worked out great for Kevin and Donnie. And by the way, I love Kevin and I love Donnie. I think I know Donnie stirs a lot of shit, but the fact is I really like Donnie. I mean, we've had a lot of personal conversations. I think the guy is a very brilliant, smart guy. And he's there to create controversy so that he gets views, and that's fine.
And that he's good at. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I had my whatever's like, what is this guy's purpose? And then now I see what his purpose is, and he's good at it for sure.
He's great at editing. He's great at storytelling. He goaded Chandler in. He did it. Chandler took the bait, hook, line, and sinker, and it became a lot of PR behind it. So
he got him pissed. Oh boy, I've never seen that before. I was like, wow.
Now see where I would have done with that was I would have not responded at all. Period. I wouldn't have given credit. I would have acted like I never saw the video. When I remember when a young kid, I will not mention his name because I've never mentioned his name publicly and hardly ever privately, but a young kid on YouTube grew his following by attacking me in particular for the spider ball python gene.
I remember that. Oh my God, that alien looking kid. God, that fucking guy was ugly, bro. I couldn't. And here's the thing, like this is why I hate this day and age. Like back in our day, bro, you can't be that looking coming talking shit to somebody. Like who are you? Like like the balls of this kid. It looked like he was like he was like malnourished diet or something. Like there was something weird about him. Anyways,
I remember. Yeah, I remember he went after Miguel for a minute, and Miguel literally said, "I'm going to see you at Tinley, and I'm going to slap the shit out of you like a little bitch." and then the guy never showed up. He never showed up. But anyways, I've never mentioned his name, nor I never will mention his name. But what I did when people were like, "Hey, did you see that video that so and so did on you about?" Number one, I thought it was crazy because like, why am I to blame for spider ball? I didn't produce spider ball pythons first. Kevin McCurley produced. Actually, Lindy and Kevin together from Freedom Breeder and Kevin that nerd produced spider ball. Why are you attacking me? I didn't do it. I'm just one of many people. But anyways, my point is that my response was, I didn't watch the video. I don't even know what you're talking about. And that was my attitude. And I know that burned his ass more than me responding because I was like, I don't even know that kid, man. I have no idea what that kid does. Let him go. And it would burn him even more that I wouldn't even give him the credit for saying his name, and I never have.
That's one thing that I give myself a pat on the back that I did this year because, I brought a concern up when there was a big Nido concern, this fucking somebody, went to the FBI page and reported Nido. So I went ahead and brought, Billy was the one being accused of this from mutation creation. So it wasn't him that I brought on. I brought one of his employees on and he like went ahead and just blatantly said, "Oh, I don't have Nido." You know what I mean? Like there's no Nido. And so some guy made a video on like how kind of dissected what he was saying during the podcast. And I had so many, and this could, mind you, a fucking mid 50-year-old guy with black nail polish. Like, I'm like, what the fuck? And I have so many people sending me this video like, "Oh man, look what he's saying, MJ." I didn't give it not even one click. I was like, I don't give a fuck. I don't want nothing to do with that. Look who this guy is. Are you kidding me? Why are you watching this? I almost wanted to say to people, why are you watching this? Like, look at this guy. Like, are you serious? So ignoring is the number one thing.
Yeah, and that's how I attack. And really, when there is anything negative about me, which again now doesn't happen that often, I won't even click on it. Like when people send me something, I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't need to watch it. The worst it's going to do is it's going to make me upset for a couple hours. Why do I even want to be upset for a couple hours? I'm just going to let it sit and let it lie. And that's the other thing is I think that as soon as haters realize that you don't care anymore, they don't have the power.
Crumbles
right?
them.
They don't care. Yeah, because they're like, wait a second, he doesn't even care. I don't care. Tomorrow you could make the biggest hate video about Brian Barczyk and all the bad things I do. I don't care because I know the good I do, and I know the people around me know the good I do, and that's all that matters to me. And you can make anybody look bad. Anybody. I could make. I mean, let's
it's easy.
Look at Tom Hanks, right? The American sweetheart. And yet, people are making him look bad because he had some association with Epstein, right? He was probably a pedophile.
He was on the list. He was on the list.
Yeah, I mean, but no one knows that list. No one's seen the list. No one's ever seen it. We just assume he's on the list, but we don't know. So that's what I'm saying. You can make anyone look bad. Anybody.
Yeah, I was like, not Tom Hanks. There's no way. Like fucking Wilson. Are you kidding me? Like cast. There's so many connections with Forrest. I just love Tom Hanks. There's no way. You know what I mean? So, anyways,
I don't. And I think
like
that
a Michael Jackson thing. I hope it's wrong.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan as well, and and that's what I'm saying. And I don't know what happened with Michael Jackson, but there was more fire, there was more smoke there than there is with Tom Hanks. But I'm just saying, you could take anybody, especially in the public eye, that has a lot of content out there. It's like I've said before. We have over 3,000 YouTube videos out there, and we have probably 5,000 Instagram posts. Trust me, you can create any narrative you want on me. If you're a creative editor, you can make anything happen, and you can make me look like the best guy in the world or the worst guy in the world. Fact is, I don't care. I just don't care, and let it go. But I'm not one of those guys that like I think there's certain people I know that actually thrive on that. You know what I mean? I mean, you look at like Jake Paul, for instance. Like Jake,
it's already starting in the comments, Brian. Oh no, I'm sorry, man.
Brian, yeah, I did. Bill, I love you, brother. I love you, Bill. He's the best. And actually, Bill and me went together to to Epstein. That's
that I believe.
Yeah,
Dude, Bill's a rock star. I believe
Bill,
it.
Yeah, Bill's the one that introduced me to Epstein. And then we went together. So yeah, so thanks, Bill. I appreciate you, man.
Oh my God.
No. But so I think that it's just again it's through growth, and I think the other way to not only ignore the hate, but I think the other thing is to succeed so much, and I talk about and I think you'll understand when I say this because what a bulldog I am about everything. I talk about omnipresence a lot, right? So basically what I want to be everywhere all the time, right? When you click on Facebook, I want you to find me. When you click on YouTube, I want you to find me. When you click on TikTok, I want you to find me. When you click on Instagram, I want you to find me. And every platform beyond that, I'm working on. If I'm not already on it, I'm working on being on it, right? So the point is that the best way to kill that hatred, to turn it into admiration, is to start crushing it. I mean, crushing it to the point where people are like, I can't hate on that guy anymore. That guy's living the best life he ever can possibly do. And there's nothing that I can do to tear that down. And that's what I say. It's like, say the ball python industry, the players in the ball python industry back in 2016, 2017, that would make up stuff like was made up with Billy. Oh, all the snakes are sick. They're all dying. They all got mites. They all got this stuff. So what did I do? I got away from them and said, now what? F you, ball python community. I don't care what you say about me because you can no longer attack me, right? Now it doesn't matter if you like me or dislike me because people are buying my snakes with or without your approval, and now I'm gone. So I just walked away from a section. I created a life that didn't have to revolve around that. Now I think, obviously I'm great friends with the people in the top end of the ball python community now, Justin, obviously, and Billy and Miguel and Ozzy and all these guys are all great friends of mine. But, in 2017, when you had a few other guys on that were kind of like the top dogs, they were, they knew that they couldn't compete with me because my animals were good. My service was impeccable. My guarantee policies were better than anybody else, because, and still to this day, it's that way. If I sell a snake to somebody and they call me back 6 months later and say it died, I replace it, period. I don't even ask a question. Just like, let me send you another one. That's it. That's all I do.
What safer way can you go about something? I mean, that's how you just clear it and make it right is just take care of it.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. I always tell people, if you're in this, especially live animal business, if you're in the live animal business for 30 something years, 20 years, 10 years, whatever it is, there's always going to be a problem. Guaranteed. You're going to sell a snake that's the wrong sex, doesn't have the right genetics, it dies, gets mouth, whatever it is, I mean, whatever the situation is. It's not about that. It's about how you handle it. Right. And so if you're saying like, oh shit, I sold you an animal that wasn't a het, that was supposed to be a het because maybe it retained sperm from the year before, whatever the case is, what do? All right, let me take care of it. Whatever it is, I'll send you a homozygous animal this year, get you back in the game, whatever the case is, we're done. You know what I mean? That's the way I handle it. Now, if you are the opposite way and be like, hey, sorry, F you. And I've dealt with some, I won't mention names, but some pretty big breeders that sold me animals that turned out to not be what they were supposed to be, whether it's sex or genetics. And when I went back to them, it was a big, hey, there's nothing I can do about it. You know what I mean? There's nothing I'm going to do. Like, what do you mean there's nothing? You made a mistake. Why are you not doing something about it? So, I mean, and I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying that every single deal I've ever done has been perfect. Now it's just that, you don't stay in business for 35 years and by screwing people, But
then again, you got to admit that it's almost kind of like the norm where you're going to get fucked over. And you almost, like, here's the thing where we're at. We're in this position now where you could actually make a big deal if you want to make a big deal out of anything, right?
Yeah.
But then also there's people who want to protect their name. They want to protect their brand. They don't want to be drama. They don't want to go into that. But when is enough is enough? Like, you know what I mean? Like when should you say, fuck it? Like, somebody just sold me a snake and it had Nido, like legit had Nido. I mean, By the way, how many times did somebody send you a snake that had Nido? Has that happened to you? I'm curious. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it actually has happened to me a couple times. It's been a while since it's happened, like several years. But I don't buy a lot of snakes for our collection anymore. We're pretty close because of Nido and because of other things. And there's a few people I would trust explicitly, that I wouldn't have a problem adding snakes. I recently added a beautiful snake from Ozzy. I not long ago I added a snake from Miguel, and I didn't, I quarantined them in a separate rack, but it wasn't, like I wasn't worried about their animals whatsoever. But yeah, no, it's happened. Of course, it's happened to me. I mean, we I think everyone that's been in it is. And so I think there's two things. Like, number one, I don't personally, because I've had people send me bad things or something like that. I've never personally went out and attacked anybody and said, hey, this guy did this to me. Look at what an asshole he is. That's just my thing. I don't care. I just take the beating and I move on to the next beating. Goes back to something that a millionaire told me one time. He said, I've lost millions of dollars in my life and I've gained millions of dollars in my life. When I lose millions, I don't think about it. I just think how I can gain it back. So I don't dwell on the negatives. But on the flip side, let's say I have a customer, and there was a guy, Sherwin and Williams, right? The paint company.
Right. Yeah.
I used to deal with a guy named Stewart Williams, which was the grandson of the founder of Sherwin and Williams. He was the Williams and Sherwins and Williams. And I used to sell him snakes, not expensive snakes. This dude was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And he'd buy like a $50 corn snake, I mean, he just was a snake guy. And we became pretty good friends. And he flew me down to Florida where he lived a few times. We went to Vegas a couple times together and balled out on, staying in the penthouse and all the other stuff that rich people do. But I remember him telling me the story. He said that, how they manage their Sherwin and Williams and what they tell their general managers to tell their managers and all their store people. And they said that if you buy a gallon of paint or someone buys a gallon of paint, walks out, he comes back with 90% of the paint gone. 90% is gone. They've obviously used 90% of the can and says, hey, listen, I'm just not happy with this color. Blah, 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 blah. They said, you immediately replace that can of paint. Don't even ask them questions. Say, you have a new can of paint, pick it out. You're good. Way to go. Don't worry about the 90% gone. Not charging you a dime, blah, blah. But this is what they tell their managers. If someone comes in and it's like, I use this paint, you guys fucking suck. I will never deal with you again. I want my money back, blah, blah, blah. He tells their general managers and managers, kick them out of the store, period. Because why give them a can of paint? They're never going to say anything nice about you, right? And so we take that same mentality with our customers too. Like if you come at me and say, you screwed me over by selling me this snake and you're an asshole and I'm going to talk bad about BHB forever, why do I want to give you anything at that point? You're going to, even if I replace it, you're going to tell people what an asshole.
It's not going to be good enough. Yeah,
So
you're going to keep it going.
At that point, you just say, sorry, I can't help you out. go after yourself, you know? And that's really how I do it. That happens maybe once a year at BHB. Maybe once a year, someone is just an idiot, doesn't give us the opportunity to take care of them. They come at us hardcore, you know, yelling. And this happened maybe 6-8 months ago was the last time it happened. And literally, I had to pick the phone up because he was calling Beth. You've met Beth, one of the nicest ladies in the world.
Really
She's
nice
so
lady.
tolerant. And he was calling her some terrible, terrible swear words on the phone. And she literally said, "Excuse me, can you put you on hold?" She came to me and said, "Brian, I can't be treated this way. He called me the C word. He called me this. He called that." And I immediately picked up the phone and said, "What the fuck is your problem? You don't treat my employees that way. Blah, blah, blah." I said, "You know, don't ever fucking call me again." I hung the phone up on him and I told Beth, never answer that number again. You know, I mean, that's, you know, so my point is that there's always points where you're saying, "Hey, I'm not going to go to this level," but we go above and beyond on everything we do. And like I said, but going back to the reason I was ranting about this is that, you know, when you get to a point where you're so beyond what you have to worry about, you know, like let's say, you know, again, me and Ozzy have become better friends than ever. And I think the world of him, and he's given me a lot of great advice over the last few months. We talk, you know, pretty frequently nowadays. Like, do you think Ozzy really cares what happens in ball pythons? You know, I mean, he cares. Don't get me wrong. He cares, but he's like beyond that now, right? He never has to worry about money again, right? Because he's been so smart about investing that ball pythons are now like play money to him, right? And if the worst thing happened and tomorrow the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service banned ball pythons, Ozzy's still good. So he's risen above what everyone else is. He is where everyone else wants to be, right? And that's what we continue to try to do is we try to get it to a position where we're I don't want to say we're untouchable, but like there's nothing that anyone can do to me to derail me. You know what I mean? I've insulated myself so well and created such a diverse investment portfolio that there's, you know, if one business falls away, this business takes me for the rest of my life this way, or if that business falls away, this business takes me, or my investments take me. You see what I'm saying? So I think that takes that also takes all of the fire away from the haters because they're like, we can't hurt him. You know, why even try? Let's move on to someone else.
You can't derail him. That's I feel like people should really work on becoming. You can't derail me. You know what I mean? Once anyone throws you off track, it halts and stops everything. And trust me, I don't want to say I'm so easy to get thrown off track, but like that's one thing I want to work on is where like you can't fucking throw my focus off anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I feel like that only comes with time. I mean, shit. I mean. I feel like a lot of this stuff that you developed, Brian, you really developed over the last like few years, right? I mean,
I think the last 5 years has been really, like I said, it started about 10, 12 years ago, the mindset. And then it took me several years to get there, right? You know, like, I mean, it was, and it was a bumpy road, you know, to get there, but it was probably the last 5 years that, you know, and then certainly the last 4 years, you know, 5 years ago, I would say we turned the corner, right? And then I'd say 4 years ago, we really turned the corner and have never looked back then. And like you said, with me, you're going to know, it doesn't matter what you do to me, there's going to be a video tomorrow, right? You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what you say, what you do, what you try to do for me. I'm going to keep bulldogging ahead. I'm going to believe in what I believe in. I believe in my heart. I believe in my mission. I believe so I think that this is the other thing that I always give people advice when it comes to business success, whatever the case is you have to be obsessed with what you're trying to achieve, period. There's no other word to it. A complete, utter obsession. You know, I think of, you know, outside of family, I think of three things, period. I think of social media, animals, and business, period. Nothing else is in my life. Nothing else distracts me. That's all I think about. That's it. I literally spend hours a day, still to this day, before I came on this podcast. You know what I was doing? I was watching videos about YouTube algorithm. You know, that's what I was doing every day. Every day I find videos about YouTube algorithm and I study them. I also study a number of other people that create videos that are super successful every single day. I've now made a pledge this year to read one business book every single week. Every week I want to read a new business book. Right now, I can't believe I have never read this book, but I'm just finishing up Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So that's a great book for anyone that is interested in business. And then lastly, I spend day to night with animals, right? I mean, so that's my three obsessions. And I'm so obsessed with every single aspect of that there's no one can derail that obsession. Nobody, no one ever will, period.
Before we get into this next topic, all I could think about how there's 140 plus people in the live and there's only 80 something likes. I don't know if that's a glitch, but guys, can we get the likes up? My boy Brian's killing it right now, and we're like just about halfway done. So let's get the likes up right now, please. For Brian Barczyk, because this next topic is going to be really important as far as what I've learned at your house, 2 years ago with Brian Cusco. You know, one of the methods you were doing at that time, or you probably still do it, is doing the sauna, the ice bath, right? And
I did it today.
Dude, I've been so geeked out about the ice bath, man. Like just more recently, my boy Socrates invested in one, and he's really huge into breathing practices and this ice bath. And like I was telling him, I'm like, dude, I went to Barczyk's 2 years ago, and he was already doing this, like, and a sauna to ice bath, which is even more effective because you're going to sauna, ice bath, and then even back and forth, right? Or I'm curious, how's that routine work for you? I'm curious.
Yeah, so I do it every single day that I'm here, you know, unless I'm traveling or something like that. When I'm home, I do it every day without fail. And what I do is I do 10 minutes in the sauna. That's about 180 degrees. I do 2.5 minutes in the cold bath. I do 10 minutes in the sauna, and then I do 5 minutes in the cold bath. And during that time, I'm you know, again, utilizing breathing techniques. You know, again, a lot of people may or may not know who Wim Hof is. You know, Wim Hof is what they call him, the Iceman. If you haven't seen his techniques on breathing and cold therapy, you should look it up. So, so yeah, I use Wim Hof. I do cold baths. I do saunas every single day. And I think that it's two things. Number one, it kicks off a lot of pheromones that are happening and hormones in your body that are really important that you can't get elsewhere. The other thing, I mean, like, you know, Wim Hof in particular with his cold therapy and his breathing techniques is literally incredulous to viruses and bacteria. Like, you know, I think it was University of Michigan, as a matter of fact, did a study on him, and I can't remember. I was thinking it was salmonella, but I think it was actually another bacteria that, you know, causes, you know, high fever, sickness, all this other stuff. Right. And literally they initially like, took his blood and infected it with this bacteria. It wasn't salmonella, but it was something like salmonella. And there was no effect to his blood. So then they said, hey, can we inject this bacteria into your veins? Now, this is like 100%. You get this bacteria 100% of the time. You're getting 103 fever and sick for days. And they injected him in 100% fine. Then he went one step further and said, you know what? I'm going to take someone that I've been training for only 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I want you to inject them with this bacteria. And that person didn't get affected by the bacteria either. So cold therapy is unbelievable. Also, you know, when it gets into sauna, you know, there's so much data from Sweden and Finland over the last 40 years because they've been doing it for, you know, centuries actually. But there's been a tremendous amount of medical research. You know, for instance, there's an over 80% reduction in Alzheimer's if you sauna 4 times a week. Think about that, 80% reduction. And then same thing with cardiovascular. If you do cold tub, hot tub, or cold tub sauna, your potential for cardio issues is down like by 40-something%. So, I mean, this is not only mentally super healthy for you, but it's also physically unbelievably healthy for you. So again, not everyone can afford a sauna and a cold tub, but everyone can put a bunch of ice in their bathtub and dip in that, you know, or take a cold shower. That's fine. You know, I did that before I got my.
I mean, just even starting with the cold in the morning. If you wake up first thing in the morning and you turn that fucking shower on cold, I mean, that's really a good way to start. I mean, even I mean, I think I lasted. I don't even think I lasted a minute in your ice bath. I had a lot of eyes on me too, and my nipples were really hard. I didn't like the attention. I'm not gonna lie, it was too much.
Well, you know, it's funny. People, when you say, oh, you know, 2.5 minutes, then 5.5 minutes or 5 minutes, you know, people are like, oh, that's pussy or something like that. Trust me, man. You get in there for 2 minutes, it's hardcore, man. It's, you know it, you felt it. It's 46 degrees. It's cold as hell. And I mean, it's shocking. Now I'm pretty, you know, good to it to where I could probably do 10 minutes if I wanted to without a problem.
Rogan's doing it at like 32 degrees. Like he's dropping to like he has like the ice, like, and I'm like, I mean, are you working to lower it at that point as well? Or what's the point of
mine only goes to 42. That's the lowest. And I do want to get down to that number. Rogan's extreme because he also has a sauna that goes to 220 degrees.
He's cooking himself, basically.
Yeah, and he'll sit in there for 45 minutes. So, being in my sauna for 15 minutes, you're smoked. And he's doing, 40 degrees hotter for 45 minutes. And then he's doing the extreme cold baths. But he's extreme and he's doing great. But look at what a great shape he is in for his age. So, I think, again, I think it's mentally, physically healthy for you. And it's part of my daily routine. I couldn't imagine life without it.
I mean, the one thing I'm starting to learn about getting older in life are looking at the people who are even older than me doing things that they're just now doing, because I mean, I think about it. I mean, if you could have done this ice bath, probably, let's just say early 2000s, do you think you would have tried it back then if you knew about it?
If I knew the data for now, absolutely, I would have. And you're right. I'm 52 years old, and I can tell you this much. I'm right now back on a pretty major health kick. I mean, I derailed for probably 6 or 8 months. I was eating way too much pizza and definitely got out of shape. I'm now, like, leaning out and taking health and fitness serious again. And I'm happy to see the progress that I've made already, down over 10 pounds just in a month and feeling a lot better. But my point is that, that's the other thing. If you see successful people, right? Most successful people are in incredible health, because there's a saying that says a man spends his life creating wealth and then spends his later years spending his wealth to retain his health, right? So what ultimately happens is that now, because maybe 20, 30 years ago, when you're wealthy, as a matter of fact, there used to be a saying like, you look very prosperous, right? And when older people, I remember you remember Brian Sharp, Brian Sharp?
Yep.
I said, Brian Sharp is the one that told me this. I'd never heard this before, but Brian Sharp said, he goes, he's looking really prosperous, to another snake guy. And I was like, I thought he meant like he must be making a lot of money. And what he explained to me was that back in the, maybe the 50s or whatever it was when Brian was younger, maybe he's not that old. I don't know how old he is, but anyways, I guess back then the saying was like, if you got fat and out of shape, you were prosperous, because you obviously had enough money to eat a lot, right? Now we know in America you can be poor and fat, but because of McDonald's and everything else. But my point is that I think before you were prosperous and you were gluttonous almost. Now most wealthy people work out at 4 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? They get up at 4 in the morning. First thing they do is hit the gym. They do their, saunas or cold baths, whatever it is, whatever their routine is. They do, some elliptical, whatever the case is. So that's the other thing that why I'm remotivating myself to get into shape is at 52, I'm ready. I want to be 82 and still at my reptile zoo crushing animal content, which means that I have to be in shape now, because when I'm 62, it's going to be harder to get in shape. When I'm 72, it's going to be impossible to get into shape if I don't maintain my shape now, right? So I think that's the other thing I would tell people is, mental health, physical health is attached to success. You can't be successful if you aren't physically and mentally healthy.
100%. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, let's get into the meat and potatoes finally. And because I don't want to say concerns, because I'm kind of just nervous about Animal Con. I want to hear it from you, man. I mean, what can people expect? But before we even expect, I want to know what was the motivation behind Animal Con? What's the expectations? And let's kind of just get into that first.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question. What are you nervous about?
Okay, so listen, me, man. I'm really attached to the breeder side of this hobby. Okay, and the influencer side, I'm also like, dude, you're my favorite influencer. Like when it comes to looking at somebody who's talking stuff other than just breeding stuff all the time, you're my go-to. Okay. But not everyone does it like you, Brian, genuinely, I feel like, and as much as I love how you're bringing the creators together, which is important, I'm kind of coming from the breeder side of things, wondering how can we get the breeders involved and get them excited for it? Because from what I'm talking about, you have guys who aren't really tapped in because they feel like it's not their realm. Like, why should I even care about it? Yeah. But, for me, I feel like you would want everyone to be a part of it. Like, this is not just having the creators. It's about having everyone, I feel like, right? I mean, that's what
it's a weird thing. I don't, I definitely didn't want to make this a breeder conference. Okay. And the reason I say that is that there's already plenty of those that are doing it great. The NARBC, the super shows, Daytona, they're all crushing the breeder game. And I don't think that there needs to be another breeder expo or another breeder conference. I don't think that there's very much to it. And I don't think it's a unique concept, right? I think that every weekend there's probably 25 shows across the country that have breeders involved on some level. I wanted to do something radically different that had never been done before, right? And that's exactly. I mean, I understand that the breeders probably aren't going to get behind it because what's in it for them? You know what I mean? Doesn't make much sense. I mean, it's a bunch of fans of people that watch YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, right? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have, breeder support for that, and I don't expect them to support unless they happen to be, fans of some of the creators that are there, Well,
I mean, I feel like Miguel, I'm excited Miguel's there. Like, trust me, I'm like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Like, Miguel's a huge part of the breeding side of things, but he's also really influencing on the YouTube as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to go for. If you really think about who's successful on the influence side and breeding side, there's not a lot, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
There's not a lot of people, certainly I think, like Justin's doing a great job. Billy's doing a great job. There's obviously other people. I don't want to discount anybody's success on that side, but they probably aren't going to draw fans in to see them, right? You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to have people coming in just to see, Billy from Mutation Creation, on stage. That's more like the Toronto show is going to draw that in for Billy, or the NARBC is going to draw that in for Billy, not a show like we're trying to do, right? So it is different, and I wanted it to be different, to be honest with you. And that doesn't mean that I would love to have every breeder there, but I knew that I wasn't going to, probably because it didn't make a lot of sense for them to come. You know what I mean? Right. Now will it eventually expand into something a little bit different? It's possible. I don't know. Haven't thought much about it. But that's not the mission statement of it, right? So the mission statement is to try to get. There's really two different things happening here. One is to try to get all of the people that have the most influence in the animal world. That's reptiles, that's birds, that's fish, that's invertebrates, that, ants, all that type of stuff, and get them into one place. All the people that have the major influence about the content that is put out, the people that are literally spending, like getting the millions and millions and hundreds of millions and maybe billions of views combined on their channels, and get them into one room, right? Because listen, it's important to have those people all on the same page as best as possible, right? So if we can somehow mend some fences there, some people that don't see eye to eye, it's like I've said with Kevin and Chandler. I really believe now Chandler's not going to be there. Kevin is going to be there, but Chandler's not. But I've thought if they got in the same room together and put their egos aside, they become friends. And I know what's going to happen at Animal Con is that that's going to happen with a lot of people.
That's going to happen with a lot of people, I feel like.
It's going to happen with a lot of people. And one of the things I know that's going to happen, because again, the brainchild comes from VidCon and Playlist Live, which are YouTube conventions, but those are for all genres that are popular on YouTube, not genre specific like animals. I don't care about the big genre thing. I care about animals. That's all I care about. And so I wanted to put an event that was very similar to VidCon and Animal Con and put on an influencer conference. Now, I know, coming from the background of Playlist and VidCon, is that over the next 12 months, we're going to see relationships that were formed at our event. And we're going to see video collaborations from creators that would have never created with one another. And ultimately, I hope we can have one unified front where bird people are helping reptile people and fish people are helping reptile people and vice versa, and all the people come together. And that's my main goal. And then, of course, that's the one side of it. And then the other side is just having a really fun event. Hopefully a lot of fans will show up and get to meet their favorite creator, listen to their favorite creator, having panels and Q&As, talk sessions, meet and greets. Again, if there are availability to VIP tickets where, you can literally be hanging out with the creators after hours at after parties, so on and so forth. Which, by the way, I think I might need to ask your help a little bit, because I'm going to, I don't want you to DJ, but you might need to help me a little bit with some music on the VIP parties. if that's possible.
Man, I don't know, Brian. We're gonna have to talk for sure.
It pays well.
I'm not cheap, but okay, yeah, we can talk. Don't worry.
It pays well. It pays well. No, I don't want the music to be overbearing at the VIP parties because I want people to hang out and talk. But it's going to be a lot of fun. The VIP parties and the after parties are going to be a great time. And that's how this event is set up. So how's it going to go? It's still yet to be determined exactly how perfect it's going to go off. Brian Potter and Brian Potter and Bob Ashley from the NARBC are my partners on the project. And they know how to run shows. So I'm going to definitely be acquiescing a bit to them about like making sure that they have the right security and the right amount of helpers and volunteers and making sure it all goes smooth. I'm just the brainchild behind the entire event and how I hope it can go. We just finished a list of panels finally, and we're going to be releasing that as early as next week. We're also, and I'll tell you here, no one knows this yet, but we're also, every single creator is going to get a coupon code this week coming up, and they'll give people a few dollars off, the purchase price, and then also give the creator a little kickback for doing the coupon code. We're also going to give all the creators one free pass to give away to one of their fans. So like as a creator like you, obviously you it's you plus one or whatever, if you have family, if your wife comes or your, whoever wants to come or your friend, you can bring somebody, right? That's a freebie, but we want to give you an opportunity to give away to a fan a free pass, Cool. So that's going to happen this next week, where everyone will have one opportunity to give away their super fan a free pass to the show, save money, because in these times we all need to save money. But yeah, so then we're just gonna have to wait to see how it all plays out. You know what I mean? We've sold quite a few tickets now. We've got quite a few tickets still left available, but they're starting to pick up now. And most people, as a matter of fact, I was excited. I talked to a guy. You would love this. You're gonna meet him. You're gonna love this guy. He has a thing called Podfest. Okay. And it's a podcast festival that he does down in Orlando. You got to check it out. Huge show. All the biggest podcasts. I mean, not the Joe Rogan types, but big podcasts. You got millions and millions of follower podcasters go to this Podfest. And he's going to be at the show. He's going to be doing a talk on Friday about podcasting. And he's going to help about, he's going to be helping about, monetization, best practices, all kinds of stuff on podcast stuff. So, but anyways, he puts on Podfest, and he did tell me, he said, the majority of your sales happen in the last 30 days, and a big majority of your sales happen in the last 2 weeks. So, so as although we've sold quite a few tickets and things are going well, I'm expecting the last month and the last 2 weeks in particular to be a windfall of ticket sales.
So anyone out there who's thinking, well, I can only make certain days, can you kind of break down what the days are going to be like? What's Friday, Saturday, Sunday going to be like?
Absolutely. So Friday, there's a limited number of tickets. We're not selling like, full on tickets because it's what we're calling an industry day. So whereas the Saturday, Sunday, there will be 5 rooms that have events going on all at the same time. Okay. 2 rooms will be small rooms with up to 100 people can fit in. So there'll be a panel, a Q&A, a talk, a session, whatever the case may be. There'll be 2 of those rooms. There'll be 2 rooms that can fit up to 200 people for like mid-sized creators potentially that are going to draw some people, but maybe not, whatever. And then there's the main room. That's the main stage room. That's going to have the majority of the seats, can fit up to 3,000 people in that room. And that's also where the very select number of sponsor booths will be. Probably about 20 to 30 sponsor booths will be in that room maximum, right? No animal sales. There will be animals there, but there'll be no animal sales. As a matter of fact, Bob's Balls is coming, to display some ball pythons. But no sales or anything like that, so Friday is going to be like more like in depth, right? So we're talking about like, if you're interested in the podcasting, like the nuts and bolts behind podcast, you're interested in becoming a social influencer and you want to know, like, how do you work with brands to get brand integrations on my YouTube channel? How do I become monetized? How do I come up with ideas? What editing software do I use? These types of topics, right? And there's only going to be 1 room. Everything's going to be on the main stage Friday. So there's going to be 8 talks on Friday total. That's it. 8 talks on Friday. And it's going to be very industry meant. So we want like the creators, number 1, to be there, because I think the creators are going to get a lot being on stage and in the audience. And then 2, the people that want to eventually probably become creators are going to want to be there for that day, industry day. Saturday and Sunday, fan days, right? So these are going to be more, again, those 5 rooms are going to happen on Friday or Saturday and Sunday. Again, we'll have, from 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock on Saturday. It's only going to be 9 till 2 o'clock on Sunday because we want to give our vendors a chance to break down to get ready for the after party at Gatorland at 5 o'clock. And again, you can buy VIP tickets to come to Gatorland, closing Gatorland down. Nobody but us are going to be in Gatorland for a few hours. But those days, again, will be, 5 talks going on simultaneous. So you have to choose. Do I want to be in room A, B, C, D, or do I want to be on main stage and watch what's up on the main stage? And listen, it's not going to be just, the biggest creators get on the main stage and small creators go. I want to mix it up. So like as a creator that's coming, you're probably doing 2 or 3 events a day for Saturday and Sunday, and potentially Friday as well. And of course, there won't be as many slots open on Friday, so not every creator is going to have something to do on Friday. But we'll have creators that are smaller creators on the main stage, and then we'll have bigger creators in the small stuff. We're going to want to mix it up as much as we can. Like I said, we came up with the panels. That'll be released probably this week, and then people can actually choose hey, Saturday there's a talk with my 5 favorite creators, and it's about this. I got to make sure to be there Saturday. Or Sunday, wow, I've got to be there Sunday. If that way, in case someone only wants to be there one day, or say someone's like, hey, listen, I just want to go to Industry Day, because Industry Day is what I'm really interested in. They can buy Industry Day, they can buy Saturday, they can buy Sunday. But we couldn't really put that schedule together until just recently because we're still adding people to the list, the right. Creator list. Now we're pretty much done adding people. I don't want to say we're done. I mean, if someone pops up in the next week or 2, we'll do it and we'll squeeze them in, but they're not going to be able to be on any of the printed stuff or anything like that. It's going to be like, hey, it is what it is,
Wow, it's exciting. So, I mean, obviously the goal here is to make this a reoccurring thing, right? If all goes well, we want to do Animal Con 2023, right?
Yeah, so this is the other thing that one of my sponsors, Zen Habitats, or no, I take that back, Custom Cages, said. He goes, basically this show is to promote next year. He goes, this is a first-time show. I've done many first-time shows. I want to sponsor this show along with Zoom Ed and Timberline and Zen Cages and Zen Habitats, Tarantula Cribs. The list goes on. Potentially Missouri might be jumping in. There's about a dozen sponsors that we have right now. And I appreciate each and every one of them. But all of them have said the same thing, like, hey, this is a first-time show. We know it could be a hit or a miss. We don't know what's exactly going to happen, but we know that we're setting up for next year's success. And that's the way I look. There is probably little chance that we don't lose money this year, right? I mean, it's almost inevitable that we'll lose money. How much money we'll lose, I don't know. But we're setting up to hopefully next year break even and maybe make money 2 years from now. You know what I mean? But it's not about the money for me. It's about the event. It's about this dream. It's about getting people together. It's about, again, think about, I have the luxury of having the Reptarium where people that watch me and follow me come and meet me, right? Could you imagine if you're a 12 or 13 or 15 or 20-year-old kid, whatever it is, and you can meet 10 of your favorite people that you watch online all in one spot? And you can watch them. That's something that's amazing. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier about VidCon and playlists. It was funny. The first time I really understood YouTube, it was funny. I was already YouTubing for probably 5 or 6 years at Snake Bites TV. And Noah came down to, I had been to playlists twice, invited down to Orlando to be on panels twice. And I literally would zip in. Ironically enough, it used to be at the same hotel that we're doing this event at. So the first times I did playlists actually was at the same resort that we're doing this one at, which is the Crebe Royale. It's absolutely beautiful. So those times I would literally zip in, do my talk, and I'm out. I literally didn't stick around. I didn't talk to anyone, didn't hang out. I didn't have any real fans. I don't think even one person knew who I was there, right? They throw me on a panel with 4 other people that were really successful. And I was like the kind of weird snake guy that no one knew who the hell I was, right? And so I pieced out. And then the third year I went to Playlist, Noah wanted to go. And so we went. And Noah was freaking out because there's all these big YouTubers that he's been watching since he was 9 years old, and they're in the same room with us, and we're meeting them, and he's taking pictures and all this stuff. And I was literally meeting the biggest YouTubers on the planet at the time, which none of them go to these events anymore, but back then they did. I didn't even know their names. I didn't even know who they were. I'd go up and meet him and be like, oh, yeah, it's good to meet you. You know, what do you do? And Noah'd be like rolling his eyes like, oh, Dad, you're embarrassing me. This is Jesse Wellens. You know, he's one of the biggest YouTubers on the planet with a channel called Prank versus Prank, or Roman Atwood, or you know, Harley Plays from you know, Healthy or from Epic Food Time or Epic Meal Time. You know, these guys were titans at the time. And I didn't even know who they were. And so I left that and said, what am I doing here? You know, what am I doing? I don't even take this serious. I need to learn how to be serious. And that's when my YouTube career turned from like, hey, I'm putting a video out a week because it's fun, to how can I make this into a career? Right. And so I think that the same thing I think about with this is that with Noah looking at all these guys that he'd been watching since he was 9 or 10 years old, now we can do the same thing in the animal world, because, you know, there are tons of not only kids, but even adults that watch religiously 5 channels every single time they put a video out, or 10 channels or 20 channels, whatever. They're able to go to an event and see all of those people in one place and meet them, hang. If they want to get a VIP ticket, they get to hang out with them at an after party. They get to go to Gatorland with them. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be freaking epic. If it goes off as well as I think it's going to go off, it's going to be absolutely epic. But like I said, I'm in agreement with you where I do think that it's setting up for next year. And like I talked to Podfest, the guy from Podfest today that I was telling you about, this year is his 10th year of Podfest. And that's what I told him. I said, I want 10 years from now to be celebrating the 10th year of AnimalCon USA.
That would be awesome.
That's my goal. So unless we completely fall on our face, there will be a next year.
I'm not gonna lie, I feel a lot better. This is gonna be great. And because I did have a lot of like, you know, wondering what the idea is, but I kind of see where you're going with this, man. The idea is getting the eyes and attention of people us breeders can't normally tap into. You know what I mean? Because we're in our own world over here. You know, we're doing our own thing, but we're only so many people, and these creators, especially the ones getting millions of views, are getting eyes that we can never reach. You know what I'm saying? And we got to think bigger. You know, we got to think whole, because at the end of the day, we got to track people from all surroundings of this animal world, the bird people, the fish people. We all need to come together on this.
Yeah, and let's take the FWC as an example, right? You know, I mean, when Kevin McCurley, who has a decent following, I mean, it's not that he has a small following at all. So he's probably a bad example because he has a pretty dang good following. But there are other people that will, you know, make videos about the FWC that 2,000 people see, you know, 3,000 people see, which is still great. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying that, you know, would it be better to get, you know, 50 of the top creators and all of them where they put out a video about like, hey, we need to do something about this FWC thing because, you know, they're about to shut down birds, fish, reptiles, you know, all these other things. And we can get, you know, 50 million people to watch the same voice, right? And one of the things we're going to do a kind of a side panel thing. I'm not sure exactly day. It'll probably be a Saturday where it'll be in one of the hospitality rooms. So there's also, you know, not that this is indicative to, this is just for creators and sponsors and stuff like that. So people that come are going to be like, oh shit, that sucks that I'm not involved in this. But there's going to be 5 rooms that are not open to the public. There's going to be 4 hospitality rooms where there's just going to be like beverages, you know, like, you know, Rodent Pro has one of them, you know, Zoom Ed has the green room, you know, stuff like that. They'll just be food and beverages for free. You know what I mean? You walk in there, you have a drink, you have some snacks, you know, for free. There'll be some couches, there'll be a table, you know, maybe Zoom Ed, for instance, will be in the green room. So maybe they'll have like a pitch about, hey, would you like to work with Zoom Ed on an influencer campaign or an affiliate, or, hey, we'll give you a free tank if you put it in your video, or whatever the case is. That's going to be happening. But we're going to probably have a little breakout session in one of those hospitality rooms, most likely on Saturday, about the U.S. Or about USARK Florida and where we're at with the FWC, and maybe open some of these big creators' eyes that didn't even know there was an issue. Right. And so that's another thing I hope that will come from this is like, and you know, and obviously we'll probably have a guy like Kevin McCurley, kind of the leader of that breakout session, because he's so in depth and knows so much about what's happening with the FWC. And we'll just have a little powwow for 15, 20 minutes. Hey, this is what's going on. Let's talk more. Let's see how we can use our voice to help the people in Florida. And that's the type of thing that I hope will really, really benefit the reptile hobby, and not just the reptile hobby, but the bird hobby, the fish hobby, the arachnid hobby, you know, beyond everything, is to get everyone together. And my hope is that we have like 100 or so creators, I think just over 100 creators coming. You know, my hope is next year we have 250 creators coming, you know, that's my hope. You know, this is the first year. A lot of people are obviously flying in on their dime, spending a bunch of money. It's difficult. I realize it. And I can't thank the creators enough for, I mean, we got people, you know, Ants Canada has 5.5 million subscribers on YouTube, and they're flying 4 people in from the Philippines on their own dime. On their own dime, they're flying 4 people in. We got Dingo flying in from South Africa. We got my buddy Peter Birch from Criticam flying in from Australia. You know, we got people flying in from all over the place on their own dime, believing in this event. You know, so I'm hoping that by next year, once we prove this concept and it turns out to be a really amazing event, then everybody's going to want to go. And the one thing I will say, I'm going to right now say it publicly, if anyone is listening cares, is that the one mistake I think I made is I probably made the qualifications to come a little bit too stringent. You know, not I, but my team turned down some people that now I wish we would have let in. When we originally started, you know, we were pretty like, hey, we need people to have this much following, this much impact, this much whatever. And I think that I should have probably let more smaller creators in. And I kind of regret that decision, you know, now when we set the parameters, because we thought, like, do we want 200 creators for the first event? You know, maybe we want 100. That's where we want to live, you know. Now, next year, I think I want 200 or 250 creators and really blow it up to the next level.
Well, I mean, I'm completely honored that I'm a part of your creator list. I got to say, I didn't think I was worthy of that whatsoever. So
no, you are. You've got a great voice. I mean, you do, and it's not always just about the following count. It's also about the loyalty of following and the hard work and the dedication that people are. And like I said, I'll be right off the bat say that there's a handful of creators right now that I look back on, and like I said, I feel bad because they reached out to me and my team turned them down. And my response was, hey, if my team turned you down, there's a reason. You know, we need to have whatever, blah, blah. I kind of wish I could go back on that now and say, you know what, let's just have you here. You know, let's not put, you know, this is I don't want this to sound elitist. You know, I don't want it to feel like an elitist event. You know, I want people to feel, and I guess that goes back to the early days of me doing playlists, right? You know, I had 200,000 subscribers when most of the people there had millions. And yet I was still invited there to be on a panel, and I was a nobody at the time. And I can honestly say the first 2 playlists I went to, although I bounced pretty quick, I still walked through the lobby and they'd have 10,000 screaming kids, you know, there. And the first 2 years I was there, not one person knew who I was. Not one person stopped me and said, "You're the snake guy." Not one person. So I kind of feel like I might have made a little bit of a mistake, but there's no going back on that now. We've done what we've done. We're at where we're at, and next year we'll probably open up a little bit wider.
So before we kind of wrap this up, Brian, I'm curious for anybody out there who is heavily on the breeder side, but wants to tap into the creator side and just struggling with that, because it's not easy. I mean, even though there's a ball that you get rolling, which is easy to stop, right? What are your advice for anyone out there having a hard time getting this YouTube thing started, even though they know they want to, they're just struggling with it?
Well, and that might go to, not that I'm trying to do a pitch here, but that might be a good thing for breeders to come to Animal Con, because they're going to learn a lot, right? They're going to learn a lot, you know. If you want to be an influencer on any level, listen, I'm telling you what, guys, I've learned. I'm always learning. Like I said, I was just watching, you know, algorithmic videos before we came on. But I'll say probably the biggest influence or change of direction I've had in the last 6 years was working with Mr. Beast, right? Understanding the way that they go about what they do, it was shocking to me. And the thing that I realized and I took away from it more than anything is not just watching how they do things and what they do, but I had like an hour and a half conversation with their lead analytics guy, and Jay and I both had about an hour and a half meeting with their editors, right? And the thing that I came out of this that I was really surprised about, and something that the breeders can learn from Animal Con and being around us, is that, and this is something I'll talk about on Industry Day, is it's 100% numbers, math, period. When you understand the numbers, and those numbers are pretty simple, you got to understand how the algorithm works to some extent. And it's the same algorithm basically in every platform, right? And I hear this a lot, and I've even said it in the past. It's like, oh, when I hear someone say I'm shadow banned, they don't know what they're talking about. Okay. There's no such thing as shadow ban. There's no one's getting shadow banned, right? It's not happening because there's no wizard behind the curtain going, this person can be shadow. That's not happening. It is an algorithmic thing that is picking up, and it's all about how your numbers are served up, right? So what happens is that the first thing is that let's take YouTube, because that's my main platform that I spend the most time on the algorithm with, is that YouTube puts you into a category. So my category is reptiles, breeding, zoo, whatever, right? You got to remember, when you upload a video to YouTube, most people don't realize this. Their AI software listens to every word, looks at every image. It also looks at your title and thumbnail. They know everything, including all your metadata. So they've already cataloged your video before it goes public. Before it ever goes public. So if you notice this, when you upload a video, say like, processing and then, checking and blah, 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 blah. That's what's happening, is the algorithm is actually reading every word that's said, looking at every image, categorizing the images, and then looking at your title, thumbnail, and metadata before that video is even processed to the point where you can go live with it, right? So you're already put into this circle, right? And then when you go live, that circle is then like, bang, right in the middle of that circle where they think you're supposed to live, they're going to put out that video and see how many people watch it. And within seconds, milliseconds, they're saying, okay, this is the reaction. Let's serve it more. And if it worked out here, let's serve it over here a little bit. Let's serve it over here a little bit. Let's serve it over here a little bit. And the reaction to how those are served is how much more they will serve your video. And if your video starts to pick up pace, they just keep serving it more and more and more and more. And that's how you grow into a bigger number. Now, if they put your video out and it tanks or it's not watched, they just stop serving it. And they just go, okay, no one wants to watch this. We're going to stop. And then what they sometimes do is at a later date, maybe a week from now, 2 weeks from now, they serve it instead of in the middle where they think you're supposed to be, they'll serve it out to this guy or this guy or this guy, just to see if maybe it picks up. And that's why sometimes you'll see videos that are 2 or 3 weeks old that weren't very popular videos all of a sudden get millions of views, is because YouTube accidentally tripped on a portion of their people that want to do it, right? So that's explains how the algorithm works and how you can't be shadow banned. What it is your videos aren't good enough to get views. That's
plain and simple.
And that's what it is. Seriously, that's what it is. And I hate to say it, you're doing something wrong, but the way you solve that is math, right? You solve this math. And so another quick YouTube and all algorithms are very, very similar. A tutorial is that there's only 3 metrics that matter tremendously. Now, there's going to be a fourth one that I find very interesting that YouTube has been talking about extensively for the last year and a half, and I don't understand. They call it satisfaction. So I occasionally, I watch a lot of YouTube, and once in a blue moon, maybe you have had this, maybe you haven't had. After you watch a video, it'll be a survey. Did you enjoy this video from 1 to 10? Did it satisfying 1 to 10? Happens like once in a blue moon, but theoretically, from what they're saying, that's going to be a big part of what videos, how they perform, is how people are satisfied after watching your video, which is bizarre to me because that survey doesn't seem to happen very often. But they're talking highly about that being a big part of the future algorithm. But right now, there's 3 metrics. There's what they call CTR, which is click-through rate, right? Now, click-through rate is 2 things really mainly, but there's a third thing that's a little bit out of there. One is title thumbnail, or 2 is title thumbnail, right? So when you're talking about this is served up to you Are you going to click on it? All you have is title and thumbnail, right? You don't have anything else. People don't know if their video sucks or doesn't suck. All they know is what they see in the title and thumbnail. You want to make a thumbnail and a title that is express. This is what you're going to get when you click this video. And you want to make that video to the point where people are like, yeah, I want to watch that video. So I'm going to click it, right? So that's where clickbait comes in. Now, interestingly enough, we've gotten pretty decent at clickbait where we don't get beat up for clickbait. So we now clickbait without people being mad at us for clickbaiting, right? Because we basically deliver on what we say in the title and thumbnail. We just make it a little bit more extreme, whatever the case may be, or we make it more pretty, or we make it more whatever the case may be. But you know, when you go to clickbait where people aren't satisfied because they think you lied to them, that goes negative on your video, right?
You have to connect with that clickbait. Like there has to be a connection.
Yeah, you have to. When people watch it, there has to be no doubt that you delivered on your promise. Your promise was that thumbnail and that title is going to give you this. And if you don't deliver on this, people get mad at you, and then it's a problem, right? So anyways, the third thing that helps with click-through, because originally you think like, oh, well, the only thing that can happen with click-through would be title thumbnail, right? There's actually a third metric that happens that people don't think about when they think of clickbait, or I'm sorry, click-through rate, and that is that how your last video did. Right. And what I mean by that is that if your last video performed well, and then that person is served the good title thumbnail, they're more likely to click on it. If your last video tanked, and they're served your title and thumbnail, they're like, that last video sucked. I'm not clicking on this. So that's the click-through rate, right? Then you have what they call AVD, or average view duration, right? So basically, you know, what is your audience retention average view duration? If you have a 10-minute video, you want people to watch at least 50% of it, right? I would say most reptile YouTubers are down at 20%. That's where we used to live. We used to live at 20, 25%. Now we're 55, 60% on most of our videos, right? So average view duration is really important, and audience retention is very important. How long did the audience watch until they clicked away, right? They said, I don't want to watch this video anymore. You want to try to keep them as long as you can, hopefully almost to the end. Most of our charts are a dip when you first start, and then a pretty straight line all the way across, maybe somewhat slipping down, and then a steep drop when I go to, hope you enjoyed today's video. Then there's a steep drop because people are done. They don't care about the end slate. They're done. They're out of there, right? So, I mean, you get 10% of the audience will actually watch your end slate, right? And then last thing is watch time. So watch time is really related directly to average view duration and audience retention. Because if you have a 10-minute video and you got 5.5, 5 minutes and 30 seconds of watch time, you know you're going to get a lot of watch time. If you have a 10-minute video and you only get 2 minutes of watch time, you're not going to have very much watch time, right? So those are the things that YouTubers have to understand is how do you get your click-through rate up, your average view duration up, and your watch time up. If you can get those three metrics going, you're going to be successful. If you can't, then you have to fix the problem. Again, Mr. Beast's team told me this point blank. They said, what you do is you go back and you watch your video, you watch your analytics. I'm a huge analytics guy. I study the hell out of my analytics. And when you see a point of your video that drops, say you're at 55%, and I'll say it goes to 45%, you never do that again. Whatever it was that you did, never do that again, because you just lost 10% of your audience. And if you can continuously chip away at the things you shouldn't do in your video, you'll eventually get to a higher average view duration and watch time, and your videos will perform better.
What if you get rid of something that wasn't it? You got rid of the wrong thing. I mean, is that for you to look at the chart? Like, so if your chart keeps tanking, like, holy shit, don't delete that. Like, that's where it comes down to math. You feel like is getting an idea on how that.
You always know. So in the analytics, you can watch when people click off.
Right.
You can actually see when they click off. Like today, I was watching a video. I was looking at analytics because the analytics are delayed by 2 days, right? So I always look at 2 days ago a video. And Noah and I were looking, and there was a 60%, a really beautiful graph. 60%, I mean, like no drop off. But at about 8 minutes, there was a spike. It went up to almost 80%, and then went back down to 60% for the rest thing. It's like, what the hell was that? And so we went back, and literally you just click on that thing. And as it's scrolling, the bar is scrolling to that spike. And you've got a line going this way, and you got the spike coming this way. So you see exactly where the spike is. And there's a video playing right on it too. So you watch in real time what people are watching, why it spiked. And it happened to be when Jessica fell on her ass, and she took a huge dive. Huge dive. It was terrible. It was unbelievably. I mean, I'm talking both feet straight up, boop, on her butt. And Noah just happened to catch it on camera. And that's when the spike went up to 80%. So you can do the same thing on the opposite side. If you're at 55 or 60% and you dip to 40%, you can watch exactly what happened that people clicked away. And you can say, okay, I better not do that again.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is what it comes down to. I think a lot of people wonder, well, how come I'm not growing in YouTube? Because you're not fucking interested. Like, you're not tapping into the shit that matters. And it's a whole grind. Like, obviously, the editing is one thing, right? But then that is not enough. Like, you got to go find the gaps. You got to go fucking plug in the gaps. And, as much as people don't, especially the breeders, don't want to have to do shit that's clickbaity. Well, guess what? There's a certain threshold you'll never surpass if you don't have those interesting things to click on. That's just what it comes down to.
Well, that's it. And this is what I've said this for years and years and years, and I'll continue to say this. I always say, you can have the best message in the world, and if no one's listening, what difference does your message make, right? I mean, I've always used the analogy of Martin Luther King. If people didn't follow Martin Luther King, would his message have mattered? You know what I mean? The reason his message mattered is because millions and millions of people follow Martin Luther King. That's why his message mattered. Now, there might have been another Martin Luther King, a different guy with the same message. But my point is, the reason why he's iconic and he's this icon that has changed history is because people followed him, because he had a message people wanted to listen to. So if you have a great message, but you're not willing to deliver it in a way where people give a shit, your message means nothing. And this is what I've said to the reptile hobby over and over and over again. I hate to say this, it's going to be very blunt. I don't make videos for the reptile hobby. I don't. I make videos for the other people that I want to eventually be part of the reptile hobby, right? I make videos for people that are loosely interested, maybe not interested at all, but then I can convert them into the reptile hobby because I create video content for them. And the reason I say that is that it's the old saying of preaching to the converted, right? Do we want to preach to the converted? I don't need to convince you, MJ, that you should love reptiles. You already love reptiles. I don't need to make a video to convince you to love reptiles, right? But little Joe down the street that either is afraid of reptiles or thinks reptiles are kind of cool but doesn't know much about them, I can convert that guy, And I always say all the time, and I wish, listen, our YouTube reach is whatever it is, right? But the fact is that I'm trying to read that comment, right? For getting the key in your dad joke. Yeah, dad jokes they're smart. They're smart, I mean, you got to have dad. If you don't have dad jokes, you're definitely not succeeding. There's no doubt about it. I'm full of those, trust me. Because I'm not a funny guy at all. That's the one thing I'm lacking is comedic relief. But my point is, I say, like, whatever my YouTube is, what it is. But if I could literally physically talk to every person in the world, I guarantee you I can get 95% of people to love reptiles, right? Because I do it every day at the Reptarium. People come in and they're like, I'm here because my son and I hate reptiles. And I'm like, that's fine. I'm not going to make you hold any reptiles, but I'm going to give you a thing that you're going to probably hold a reptile by the time you leave. There is no way I'm holding a reptile in this place by the time I leave. 99.9% of the time, they're holding reptiles by the time they leave. So that's my point. Those are the people I care about. I mean, it's not that I don't care about the reptile. Of course I care about the reptile hobby. I was one of the guys that helped found the reptile hobby, not found in the, but the new age of reptiles when it went from closet hobby to actually like mainstream. Right. We were there pushing that envelope right along with the other guys like Mark Bell and the list goes on and on. Pete Call, so on and so forth. And many names that people don't even know, like Ernie Wagner, Joe Terry, John Ruiz, guys that people don't even know who they are, Gary Sipperly, so on and so forth. Those guys, we were the guys that were pushing the reptile hobby. So of course I love the reptile hobby. But that being said, I'm not making videos for the reptile hobby. I'm making videos for future reptile hobbyists, so that's important to me.
Fuck yeah, man. Well, listen, I think we got everything that we needed. I'm excited for Animal Con. Now, people could still go to the website and get tickets, even like the day of. If there's tickets available, even like the late bloomers, if they want to pop in, they can still show up or what?
Yeah, I'm assuming that there's going to be a number of people that show up the day of. And listen, I would have loved to have sold this show out and be like, sorry, there's no tickets available. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think,
maybe next year.
Yeah, maybe next year. I think we're going to have a good number of people I sure hope anyways. I mean, it's trending in that direction. But yeah, people will be able to walk up the day of the show and get in. I don't think that'll be a problem at all.
Okay, well, I can't wait for it. And yeah, man, we could talk more about the DJ thing later. I
Yeah,
got
yeah.
you on that. So I'll take care of
Even
it.
if you
Listen,
want to
Brian.
have a cell phone, with some music playing, that's all.
Oh, I could kill it with a playlist. I could literally kill it to where I don't even need to do shit. I could just let it just mix on its own. Trust me.
That's what I need. I need a playlist. That's all we need, man. So I appreciate it, brother. So yeah, but everyone else, thanks you guys for the support and thanks for listening to me ramble. I know I ramble about shit. That's the thing, right? I always talk about things like, I don't think we talked about animals at all, did we?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's always about animals. I think we did cover what the main purpose is of why I brought you on the show, and I just want to make a clear picture of what Animal Con is going to be all about. Even myself, you know what I mean? I haven't really picked your brain, so I'm glad we actually did this on the live together, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to get a better understanding on what this event's all about. And I'm actually, when I let you go right now, I'm going to say my peace of mind on this episode. And I learned a lot from this, Brian. I got to say, I'm very excited to attend your event, and can't wait to see what it brings to the hobby, man. So thank you so much.
I appreciate you, man. And I appreciate you as a friend more than anything. And I can't wait to see you next month, man.
All right. So say hi to the family for me, and then I'll be touching base with you really soon, man. Have a good night, Brian.
All right. See you guys.
Brian Barczyk, ladies and gentlemen. There he goes. He's gone. All right, so listen, hang tight with me real quick, guys, because I do kind of want to talk with you about this episode and kind of have like my little rant conclusion, okay? Because at the end of the day, I did have my doubts about this event, Animal Con. Is it really just a ego stroking event, like to glout people and get people excited for something that they do via YouTube? And the way I look at it, there's a huge part of this world that us breeders, like people who are just tapped into the breeding side, who can't reach. Like there's a bunch of people that we wish we could get eyes on us to see what we're doing, but at the end of the day, the world is so big, right? So these creators, man, this thing that's about to go down, are getting these eyes that us breeders can't really get eyes of. We can't tap in with these people. So I mean, I don't know. And you got to understand too, let's be honest. Any breeder out there, anyone out there who's trying to make a business out of this should be doing YouTube. You should be marketing yourself on YouTube. Why wouldn't you? Well, I mean, unless you're somebody who's been very, deep into this for a while and you're just an OG, then I can understand. But for the most part, if you're new and you're really trying to make a name, you got to do YouTube. Otherwise, you're just fucking, what are you doing? Think about it. Look at anyone who has came into this game within the last 5 years. They're all on YouTube. So if you're new into this and you feel like, oh, I want to be a full-time breeder and I'm just going to sell snakes, you better be hustling on the YouTube. So, and this, dude, fuck, YouTube is not easy, man. It's not easy. This is why a lot of people fail at YouTube, because they don't know what the fuck to do. So this event like Animal Con could really spiff up the game for anybody out there who's looking to get into the YouTube world and just has a hard time figuring it out. Even me, I've been doing YouTube for going on 3 years now. And as much as I say, I don't care how many subscribers I do have, I do want to get more subscribers, because I feel like my word is coming from a good place. I'm very passionate about what I talk about, and I would like to reach out to some other people, because at the end of the day, we need more people tapped into this world that we're in. We need to grow. We need to continue this army. And at the end of the day, anyone, like Brian said, you give them 5 minutes in a room with somebody who doesn't like a snake, that person's going to leave liking a snake. I don't give a fuck how I can't stand it. At the end of the day, your mind, your mentality will be different after hanging out with Brian Barczyk in a room full of snakes if you hate snakes. That's just plain and simple. So just imagine if we could tap in with these families, these children, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, the children are the future. I'm not going to tell you who I'm going to be having on the show here in the near future, but I'm definitely going to have somebody on who's tapped in heavy in the YouTube side that involves kids. I'm not that, but at the end of the day, those kids will grow up, and I want them to be a part of this. So we're all connected. This is all one universe. I don't want to get too Socrates on this, but I have a really good feeling about Animal Con. If you're out there who is considering Animal Con and you were just like me before this podcast, not sure what to do, fucking do it. Let's go. Let's go to Animal Con. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there with some homies. I'm going to be there with Socrates, his daughter. I'm going to be there with Matthew Summers. I got a bunch of Trap Talk Patreon members that are tapping into the Animal Con, so it's going to be a fun time. So if you could go. And let me know if you're going. Drop a comment. Let me know if you're down to meet up and link up at Animal Con. But yeah, man, I just want to say thank you to everyone who tapped in. Appreciate all the super chats. My homie Silver Cash 86 in the building, who will be at Animal Con. Looking forward to meet you, buddy. It's going to be an amazing time. Please have some pizza. I'm just kidding. There'll probably be pizza like in those concierge rooms or whatever the fuck. I'll tap you in with some pizza. Don't trip. But thank you guys. I appreciate all the love and support, man. This podcast ain't gonna stop. I don't give a fuck if I don't get any more subscribers from here on out. I will never stop doing what I love, and I love doing this podcast. Okay. Everyone tapping in, everyone who shows me support in the comments, the lives, thank you so much. You guys are a huge inspiration to me. So please just keep giving me the support, because if you guys want this to continue, just keep tapping in. That being said, guys, a couple plugs. I just want to say I just been releasing some vlogs on my new YouTube channel. So if you have not already, please do your boy a favor. Head over to YouTube, where you're already on YouTube, right? But type in the Snake Trap Session vlogs, and please subscribe to my new YouTube channel. Okay, I'm going to be super consistent on this channel. I'm going to be putting out at least one vlog a week, which is every Saturday, and then hopefully be dropping a bonus vlog throughout the week as well. But either way, if you guys want to see what I have going on more than the podcast, if you want to see updates on my own collection, if you want to see what's going on with my breeding projects, if you want to see what it's like when I go visit these other breeders and tap into their collections and do vlogs at their fucking facility, this is the channel you want to subscribe to. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel, the Snake Trap Session Vlogs. I want to get to 1K subscribers by the end of the year. I already know that's going to happen because I got mad people out there rocking with me, and I appreciate you guys so much. And then make sure you subscribe to this channel. It means a lot to me. Hit that like button. Okay, don't forget that never too late to hit the like. So if you were tapping in and you were too busy to hit the like button, now's the time to do it. Let's get the likes up. Let's see, this Saturday I have someone tapping in from Canada. We have the International Trap Talk Dabs and Coffee session going down this Saturday with my boy Peter Williams tapping in from Canada. So make sure you guys are ready for that. Go down to the link, set your reminder, and it's going to be awesome. Canada had a great time last week in Canada. That being said, the channel that I just told you to subscribe to, the Snake Trap Session Vlogs, I am releasing my facility tour at Mutation Creation this Saturday. Okay, it's going to be released this Saturday, I think at 9:15 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So just be ready for that, because I had an amazing time at Billy's place. I had an amazing time recording this vlog, and I cannot wait to share it with you guys. And I don't want you guys to sleep on this. This is very informative. Billy fucking dropped mad knowledge in this vlog. I'm telling you right now, you don't want to miss this. Billy always hits. And yeah, I appreciate all the love and support. Last but not least, okay, guys, head over to my Instagram. Give me a follow on Instagram, MJ Exotics Cartel with an A, not an E. That's another way to stay on top of my projects, another way to stay on top of what I have going on with all my reptiles and whatnot. Then also follow the podcast's page as well, Trap Talk with MJ Podcast. Shout out to my Twitch viewers. And then as you guys, a lot of you guys know out there, I do this for a full time. This podcast is my full gig. So if you out there would like to support me more than a subscription, more than a like, you can send me any donation you like to Exotics Cartel with an A, not an E. But last but not least, if you want to support me and you want to join me for this, for the long run, become a part of my Patreon family. Go down to the link, join the Snake Trap Sessions Patreon family today. I want to say from the bottom of my heart, shout out to all my Patreon members. My Patreon members are my hot. I got to say, dude, honestly, I don't fucking deserve you guys. I love you guys to death. Thank you for making me work this hard, because I ain't going to stop, man. More shows to come, more remote podcasts, Trap Talk Global. There's so many things to come. 2023, I'm telling you right now, I already got things in the works. So your boy's just not going to stop. And I hopefully see you guys at Animal Con, because like I said, I'm excited. I'm going to be in the building. I'm going to be hella lit, and it's going to be a good time. I'll catch you guys here Saturday. It's your boy checking out.